You're listening to Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. On each episode, we sit down with key industry experts to discover more about what's happening in the world of learning and development, from current trends and insights to the most valuable lessons learned along the way. Join us for a fresh perspective on all things training and the best direction forward. Here's your host, Leanne Langford.
Hi, welcome to Learning Leader Spotlight, the podcast where we interview the learning leaders of today to help the learning leaders of tomorrow. I'm your host, Leanne Langford. I'm the president of Training Pros. Training Pros is a woman-owned learning and development contract staffing company where we like to say, when you have more projects than people, let us bring you the consultant to start your project with confidence. I am really excited about today's guest. I had a really nice conversation with him a couple of weeks ago, and I know it's going to be a good conversation today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Darick Bryant. He's the Director of Learning and Organizational Development at Clean Harbors. Welcome, Darick.
Thank you, Leanne. I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed our initial conversation. Looking forward to continuing that today. I appreciate it.
So let's start off by having you introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Dr. Darick Bryant, as you stated, Director of Learning and Development with Clean Harbors. I have been with Clean Harbors for only 3 years. I was part of an acquisition by the organization. I used to work for Thompson Industrial Services for 12 years, where I held a variety of operational roles. That is where I got introduced to L&D. And I lead all of the leadership development initiatives for Clean Harbors, which is the industry leader in environmental and industrial services. We have over 900 service locations throughout the country, with provinces also in Canada, Puerto Rico, and India. We are over 24,000 employees, and I have the honor and opportunity to lead all of the development initiatives for our organization.
That's an amazing story. So you probably been with the same company then 15 or so years, because
Correct.
you just kept going. Not too many people stay with the company that long anymore.
No, I think that's part of maybe a generational thing. Being a Gen Xer, I was raised that even mentored that when you find that right organization and they're meeting your needs, they're meeting their needs. You want to maintain that longevity.
So I'm also a Gen Xer, and I've been with Training Pros almost 19 years now. So there is that. But prior to Training Pros, I did not stay with companies that long. I think I had a hard time finding my home.
Yeah, it was the same way for me. This is my longest tenure with any organization. Prior to Thompson and Clean Harbors, 5 years maybe was not max within an organization.
Sounds about right. So, find the right home and then you never want to leave.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
As a Gen Xer, this is probably it. I'm at the end.
Same here. I don't, when I look at my career, I tell my wife sometimes, I say, honey, I think I have one more move in me. And I think that one move is within the ranks of Clean Harbors, is not within the realm of seeking another opportunity within an organization. I don't know if that's going to hold true, but currently, though, that's what my intention is. I want to ride into the sunset with Clean Harbors.
That's great. I love it. So you've been with learning and development for a while as well. What first brought you to this field? What did you love about it?
It's interesting how I ended up in learning and development. I've always loved empowering people. I've always had a heart for helping other individuals become better from a skill set and a personality standpoint. But I spent most of my career on the operational side of things, project management, leading projects, leading teams. And I really didn't know a lot about learning and development. When you think about human resources, you hear about employee relations and you hear about benefits and onboarding. I didn't realize that learning and development was a component of human resources. And I actually was offered or asked about the training and development role with Thompson during an operational budget meeting. I was a business unit leader, and our vice president of human resources at that time, who has also been an influential figure in my professional career, asked me what my thoughts were about pursuing a career in training and development. We talked about the dynamics of it, and it enticed me because it involves serving people, which is something that, as I said, and I've always been passionate about. And I took a stab at it. It was something different, and that presented a challenge for me to learn something different. And I fell even more in love with serving people, but then I learned how to do it. I learned that it was more to it than what I was originally doing, and I learned how to do it at a higher level where it was not only able to impact the team I was leading, it was able to impact an entire organization. And from my initial role in training and development, it sparked me to pursue a graduate degree. And so I also hold a master's in organizational leadership with the concentration in mentoring and coaching. And I felt like that was going to be it. And then next thing you know, I wanted to continue growing and learning more about leadership. And that sparked me to pursue my doctorate in strategic leadership. But now I'm working to bring all of my knowledge full circle and apply what I've learned through those postgraduate degrees into my role into knowledge.
That is a great story. I love it. One of my favorite things to find out is how people get to L&D. And the one thing I've noticed is once people join L&D, we stay. We don't ever want to leave.
So L&D professionals, I say this to many of my colleagues, we're unicorns. I believe to be an L&D professional, you have to be a unique person. You have to be a person that sees through the shell of an individual, and you see that potential that resides there, even if they don't see it, and their direct managers may not see it. You see the best in individuals, even though they may not see it in themselves, and you want to figure out how to extract that and help create a pathway to where others see what you see.
I love that perspective. That's beautiful. What are the biggest changes you've seen in learning and development over the last few years?
Technology, we were so accustomed to delivering training in person. And what happens? We experience a pandemic that changes how we deliver training. And then coming out of the pandemic, finding that balance between in-person led, virtual led, and then also self-paced online, which I love because we're all different. We all learn differently. And it's about creating that learning pathway that is going to benefit that individual. Some people thrive in person, some people thrive live virtually, some people thrive self-paced online. And that's one of the, I say, challenges for me and my role with Clean Harbor. There's being a organization the size that we are, making sure that we have a diverse development framework that is going to meet the individual needs of our learners while supporting the corporate needs of the organization, but just how the various learning modalities have evolved in recent years has been a joy to watch, but also it's probably been challenging for many L&D professionals as well. Change management is something that we many times deliver on and don't think about how it impacts us as L&D professionals as well. Being adaptable, being agile, and able to deliver utilizing those various modalities.
I love your observation. We've always been a virtual company here at Training Pros, but when the shutdown first happened, which by the way was 6 years ago today, is the day we're recording. I just heard that on the radio this
Oh,
morning.
wow.
And it was this first there was like this big, oh my gosh, what is happening? What is the world now? And suddenly, within a month of the shutdown, we are super busy helping with redesigning ILT to go to virtual,
Yep.
providing virtual classroom producers to help the facilitators who've never facilitated virtually,
Right.
helping them come up with, how to fall back and punt and come up with a new plan.
And it's been great because now we're able to touch people that, from an IoT standpoint, we probably would have never been able to touch. Now, of course, it with you all's level of expertise in the virtual format, you have to make sure you structure it to where it's going to deliver the degree of impact that you desire for it too. But think about from a global perspective, how the world has now become a global phenomenon. L&D is now part of that global phenomenon, delivering virtual sessions to individuals in other countries. The chances of us being able to do that just from an IoT format was probably unthinkable Therefore, just how L&D has evolved there, the various learning modalities is something that I think we should be proud of. And then consistently looking on how we can advance that while integrating AI, which is on everybody's radar, regardless of your industry, is how to adopt it and also how to integrate it into what you are doing within your organization. And I'm sure that that's not nothing different from an L&D standpoint, is identifying how you can integrate AI into it and how AI can contribute to your organization, delivering more impactful from an L&D standpoint.
The AI discussion seems to take over almost
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
every webinar
Yes.
and podcast I took
Yes.
part. Well, so on that note, where do you see L&D going? Where are we going to be in a few years?
I think AI will continue to be at the top of the conversation for every industry. I think we have to be careful with that, but we have to be careful that we don't allow AI to dehumanize learning and development. There are certain aspects that can be automated, and when we utilize it to automate those tasks, it doesn't mean that we remove an individual or individuals. It means we find something else that they can spend their time more effectively doing in the L&D space. But I do think AI will continue to gain traction and accelerate its pace of implementation in the years. Um, Unfortunately, when you look at the industries in the workforce, you don't have individuals knocking down the doors anymore for employment, because we live in a world where now you can become an entrepreneur very easily. Therefore, I think that we're gonna definitely look at how we can utilize learning and development as a major retention strategy for millennials and Gen Xers, because baby boomers are already out of the workforce or they're exiting. And then Gen Xers like you and I, guess what? We can see the door and we're reaching for that door. And it's gonna be important for L&D professionals to have a framework that is going to communicate to the younger generation that we value you. Your development is important to us. Therefore, this is how we see you developing over the course of the next whatever years. They have to see the value in staying with the organization, the level of commitment that maybe you and Hyde have had. They look at it a little bit different, and it's not a bad thing. They're pursuing the same things that we pursue. They're just pursuing them different.
Yeah, I have 2 Gen Z children, and they want different things out of life than what we wanted when I was their age. And so, I'm happy with that. I'm like, what you want is what you want. But as learning and development people and as leaders of companies as a whole, we have to look at, what does this next generation need in order to want to work at our companies? And definitely entrepreneurship is part of what they're looking at.
And we can give them that entrepreneurship within the realm of our organization. Entrepreneurship really connects with autonomy. Individuals they want the freedom to do what they want to do and were hired to do. Therefore, it's going to be important for organization and L&D leaders to identify what level of autonomy the Gen Zs and millennials are going to be expecting, so that we can contribute to meeting those needs, which will help the organization meet is L&D needs, but also the other business metrics.
And you also brought up another interesting topic that, I don't see a lot of talking about yet because we are all concerned about the baby boomers leaving, right? Largest, generation, and they're going. Well, we're Gen X. How many times a month are you asked when you're retiring? People ask me that all the time.
Really?
Yes.
I don't get asked that often. I can't recall the last time I've been asked.
Maybe you just look a lot older than
Nah,
you do.
I don't know. I can't recall the last time I've been asked that though. But I mean, my children probably ask me more than anyone. Not sure why they do, but
My kids never ask me this.
oh no, they ask me. But no, I can't recall being asked that.
Oh, funny. Yeah, no, I get asked that a lot by people, maybe just because I've been with the company so long.
Maybe.
But there is that generation that's bumping up on getting ready to retire. And you probably had the same type of education background that I did, where it was our teachers were telling us from when we were teenagers, you have to be responsible for your own retirement. So I feel like a lot more in our generation are are ready to retire have prepared for it more.
Succession planning within organizations is going to become more of a priority probably than it ever has because of the exodus that we have within the generations within the organization, which goes back to being able to identify, letting those millennials and Gen Zs know, hey, this is what I see for you in the coming year. This is what our plan is to help you get there, but then also helping them understand it's a process. Because it's real. There's some aspects of our world is microwavable, and we expect it. If I say that today, I want to see it manifest tomorrow. But that's not other aspects of life. And being able to have that crucial or that difficult conversation saying, this is what we see for you, but it's not going to happen overnight. This is what the process is going to look. And at that point, an individual has to make a decision on whether they're going to buy into the process, or they're going to seek an opportunity that's going to give them what they desire at a much quicker rate.
So let's shift gears for a minute.
Okay.
Who has been your most influential professional mentor?
I would say he's currently an HR director with Clean Harbors, but with Thompson, he was the vice president of human resource and risk management. He's the one that introduced me to learning and development. He gave me my first role as a training director with Thompson. His name is Rick Lotz. And even now, I haven't reported to him in several years, but we have a standing weekly connection to where we mentor each other to a degree. I still bounce things off of him in regards to my career, and he does the same. And he's been a huge supporter and guide and inspiration to me throughout not just my career with L&D, but even in the operational side of things with the Thompson. And I'll have to add my wife Tom into that as well. I say this many times. She's one of the best leaders that I know, and I'm blessed to be able to observe how she leads her teams, and she's in the healthcare field. How she leads her team, and I've learned so much from her about leadership. So I would say Rick, Tanya's 1A, Rick would be 1B.
You have a very lucky wife because you appreciate her.
She is. She's I say the hard part is sometimes I have to take the Dr. Bryant hat off and be Darick, her husband, because as she's talking to her through her day or maybe things she's going through, I'm so quick to want to get practical and start thinking from the realm of leadership, philosophy, theory, and application. And she's like, I don't need Dr. Bryant. I need Darick.
That's great. I love it. I have been accused of, they're like, okay, take your work hat off. We need you to be Leanne, not whatever that suit is you put on for work.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to ask, I'll ask, you want Darick or you want Dr. Bryant? Just say, well, what would Dr. Bryant say? Okay, I can give you that.
It's great. I love it. So skills are a very big topic these days in L&D. What do you think the most important skill in the workplace is today?
We used to call things like communication and empathy, we used to call them soft skills. However, today, as we go through a generational shift, they're now essential skills. And one of the things that we're starting to do within our organization is skills are important, but we're starting to transition now and start talking about competencies, where individuals not only have the skills, but they have the knowledge of a various topic or a various subject matter. But I would say empathy is the skill that is going to be really beneficial for leaders today and in the years to come. The ability to connect with the individuals that you're leading is going to be key to the effectiveness of a leader. Being able to understand what that individual needs from you as a leader is going to be key to our ability to lead those individuals and lead our teams. When we lose sight of, again, it goes back to some of the things I mentioned earlier about AI, dehumanizing our teams. When we lose sight that we're leading humans and we start treating them differently than what they are created to be, it just creates an opportunity, it creates a huge amount of risk for leaders and for the organization. But empathy, gaining that understanding of what a person's feeling, what's causing them to feel and think that way, and then helping them work through those emotions. Empathy and emotional intelligence, from my perspective, very intertwined. It's difficult to have one without real.
I do believe those are extremely important. And as you probably know, we have a big neurodiversity generation coming through. One of my children is on the autism spectrum. So empathy is a more difficult skill for people with specific diversities. Are they going to be able to learn empathy, or is this something we need to have empathy around the fact that they're not going to have the same empathy trigger that somebody who isn't a neurodiverse person has?
Well, I think when you talk about the levels of empathy, whether a person is neurodivergent or not, I think everyone has a varying levels of empathy. But knowing that this person may have certain limitations, it should cause our level of empathy to increase because to try to at least supplement to some degree what they're not able to do. I have a grandson that is on the spectrum as well, and builds school locally. He's with Tanya and I during the week. And I think for both of us, we had to learn a higher degree of empathy and to gain an understanding of why certain behaviors are displayed the way they are so that it helps us with our response. And sometimes when that person can't tell you why, you have to do your research. And even in doing your research, you have to understand that they're an individual. Just because of what research says about that population, all of it may not apply to that individual. So you also have to have that balance of understanding that I understand what research says, but I'm going to observe this person on my own to compare what I've learned with what I see, and then formulate my understanding of how I need to deal with this situation or approach this individual. And being a follower of Christ, I live my life by faith. I understand that just because things are this way today, that if it is God's will for my grandson to do more, he's gonna do more. And that's not just for him, that is for every single person here on earth.
I'm so glad you said all of that because, it's called spectrum for a reason because it never presents exactly the same. And so you do. I mean, as someone who's also we've both been through this. You see, different reactions from the child than other children might have. But yeah, you do like somehow kind of move your reactions and your anticipations of things to make room for this child because you know how they're going to do. And then the other aspect is my child's now an adult, brilliant, talented, can do amazing things. So I keep saying maybe it's a superpower.
It is.
They had to have this so they could do this.
Listen, they sometimes when labels are put on people, programs, and when you hear the term special education, your son, my grandson, they are special because they do some unique things that people who may not be on the spectrum can do. For my grandson was when he was diagnosed, he was said that he was considered nonverbal. And in a matter of a few years, he has gone from making sounds to articulating words to now saying sentences. And I pulled out, so this is hard to see it, but you may this is a notebook. So he loves writing, and he'll come to my wife and he'll go through the alphabets, connect an animal to the letter of the alphabet, and also give you the sound effects of the alphabet. And I mean the sounds that the animals make are you can't find them better on YouTube. But it is about understanding what his abilities are in the moment. And as they change, our level of understanding and empathy has to adjust. And it's no different with our employees, our peers, or our direct manager. You're talking about maturation. It happens at different stages, at different rates. And as leaders, we have to have that awareness, which goes back to emotional intelligence, that as my team develops, my level of awareness and management of my emotions have to advance and mature as they mature, because that is going to create that synergy between the individuals on the team.
I love it. I do love it. We have, on my company, we have like basically two very distinct groups of people. The people who are the sales, account management, that type of have a very, very strong outgoing, loud. We think, high level, we don't like detail. And then you've got the people who are the ones who do all the support work, which requires detail, meticulous. You put those in a room together and it's strange to watch. So, I'm constantly coaching about, here's what you need to know about this group and this group. I'm like, here's what you need to know about this group.
And that's sometimes we over engineer topics. That's inclusion. You're taking individuals and putting them in an environment for them to function cohesively. Now, conflict arises sometimes because sometimes you have individuals that don't want to yield for various reasons. They don't want to yield. They don't want to gain. They don't want to have that degree of empathy. They don't want to gain an understanding of why Leanne thinks the way she does. Why is she so detailed, or why is Dr. Bryant not so detailed? When you have those type of interactions or discussions, yes, conflict arises. But that is we were created to fellowship. We were created to use our individuality, connect it with someone else's individuality, create collaboration, and for us to live happily ever.
I'm just loving this conversation so much. Let's shift gears again. Where do you get your industry news and information?
I'm a huge podcast person. I utilize my iPhone when I'm cutting grass or washing cars. I listen to John Maxwell. He's one of my favorites. I was reading his books even before I transitioned into my career in the L&D space. I'm a huge Harvard Business Review person. A lot of their articles were used as a part of my research as I pursued my doctorate. I'm an avid reader as well. Just with my postgraduate degrees, I had to, especially my doctorate, I do a lot of reading and research, which transitioned me into becoming an avid reader. But most of my insight that I gain, I do it from a variety of ways. I do it through books, I do it through podcasts. LinkedIn Learning is one aspect of it. I connect with other professionals through LinkedIn. They post various articles and posts, and then I'll use what they post and they research a little bit deeper to enhance my level of understanding of whatever topic is that they're sharing. Peer learning is great.
I couldn't agree more. I get a lot of my news, industry news, from just reading my LinkedIn feed and seeing
Mm,
what is it people are talking about
Certain,
today.
certain.
And, it morphs over time, but it lets me keep abreast. And then I start thinking, gosh, I need to learn more about that. And then I go learn
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. Same with me. I love all following the connections on LinkedIn, and as you said, what people are talking about across the industries. And it's interesting to see that we're dealing with some of the same things. And sometimes you need that when you're dealing with whatever challenge in your organization, and you get a chance to see, you say, okay, we're not the only one that's facing this challenge, and you get a chance to gain an understanding of what other people are doing to deal with those challenges.
That is one of the things that I think is so important. We actually, here at Training Pros have a benchmarking program where we pull in leaders like you into a room to talk about one topic. We might call you up and say, Dr. Bryant, do you want to be in a room where we're talking about skills, or you want to be in a room where we're talking about the retirement of Gen X? And you and other leaders who have agreed you want to talk about this get in a room together and you talk on a Zoom.
Yeah, and
Very
I'm actually starting to see more of that, which I think is great because that's again, it goes back. That's inclusion. That's also diversity. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, many times we make it an ethnic or a race thing. No, it's so larger than that, and really, in most part, has nothing to do with that. When you place different individuals with different levels of experience, different levels of knowledge, different perspectives, and they share that information, you're creating an inclusive and diverse environment where everyone has the same opportunity to grow. Even though we're going to take different things and apply them differently, we all have the same opportunity.
I love that you said I love that. And that's one of the reasons we do it. And let's ask the last question, which is my favorite. What is one book everyone wanting to be a learning leader should read?
I would say Leaders Made Here by Mark Miller. I was actually gifted with that book, and it entails how organizations can build a sustainable leadership pipeline and create a culture that breeds leaders. And I think that is something that every organization today is seeking, how to build leaders and sustain a pipeline so that when the generational shift occurs, we're in a better position today than we would have been years ago. But Leaders Made Here by Martha.
I love it. It's one I haven't read yet, so I'm going to put it on my reading list.
Put it
Where-
on your reading list. And the chapter
Actually, wait.
the chapter title Bet on Leadership is my favorite aspect of the book.
Okay. Actually, it's going to go on my Audible list.
Do it.
Yeah. When I walk the dog or I like to listen to the books and podcasts, and it just makes it easy to get through with, maybe a household chore. Listen to it, and it just makes it easier.
Yeah, no, it is. That is one of my favorites.
Fantastic. I appreciate the recommendation, and I appreciate you joining us on our podcast today and taking time out of your busy schedule to help others learn more about learning and development and leadership. As my thank you to you, we at Training Pros plant trees as our charity. So we're going to plant 5 trees in your name.
Oh, wow.
Right now, we're planting trees to help preserve the wetlands in the world. We've planted 5,500 trees to date. So we continue to plant trees, and our goal is to reach 10,000 trees planted in the world through our charity with consultants and guests on our podcast.
Wow. I'm honored. Thank you all so much. That's so special.
Thank you.
I appreciate
You like
that.
it?
I
We
do.
really
I
like it.
love that. That is special and unique. I really thank you all for that. And thank you for providing this opportunity for me
Oh, yes.
today. Any chance I get to talk about L&D, I'm excited about it because it's more than what I do within Clean Harbors. It's my ministry. It's what I strive to do at work and also outside of work. And I think that is something else that's unique about L&D professionals. It's not a job for us. It is truly a lifestyle.
It is. It's a calling. Well, thank you for being here. And that is it for this week's episode of Learning Leader Spotlight. We hope you join us again next week to listen to another learning leader from another industry.
Thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. You'll find links in the show notes to any resources mentioned on today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review.